Figuring out what comes next for software development means looking beyond these two modalities that were our starting point, right? Copilot succeeded on the back of ghost text for a number of reasons, but mostly because it let AI be helpful in the moment without being too demanding. It wasn't modal. Like, I didn't need to switch out of I'm typing and writing software into Copilot mode and then see if I like the suggestion and switch back or not as sort of the situation warranted. The cost of the sort of more modal things that we explored on the way to ghost text was that a bad suggestion costs you twice. Once when you summon Copilot, and then another time to say, that's not exactly what I want. So with ghost text, you just keep typing to ignore a suggestion, and it made the bad suggestions forgettable, while the ones that you accept were the things that you remember, the wins. And on the flip side, chat is everywhere. Chat is modal. You literally leave your editor and talk to the chat, maybe in a different app entirely. It requires almost no thought, no design. You can make it much better if you take the time to source good context, good information about your user's intent and their behaviors and what are they doing and what are they up to. But you don't have to in order to ship something basic. You can just ship AI without crafting fancy prompts. You just ask the user to type what they want and send it along to the model. So when I step back and think about these two modalities, what they have in common is the limited ambition. Ghost text is inherently local and specific. It can't do anything anywhere else than right here and right now. And chat is the opposite. It's a discussion about your code, but actually applying that discussion to your code is left as an exercise to the developer. They need to just go and do it themselves. What if I want to have a more actionable discussion about my code base? What if I just wanted to do what I want? I have a task. What if I want to generate more than just a little bit of code? What if I want to fix a bug or implement a feature? Because that's the actual job that we have, right? Getting the models to generate lots of code across multiple files in a code base is a very different challenge from generating small completions. You need the code that you're generating to respect the rest of the code that's already there. Except that for most models today, I mean, Paige just showed this whole 2 million token thing, and that's really cool. But for most models today, a whole repository is usually larger than the prompt window, the sort of the maximum token budget of most models. And so you still need to leave room for the tokens you get back, the response. And so now you have to find ways to chain multiple requests to these models together in order to, such that they all respect and build on one another. And that's really hard. And the biggest problem is that the goal here is to give instructions to the model just like we talk to another human in natural language. But only code is as precise as code. Everything else might contain ambiguity, and we have enough trouble with that just talking with other humans. So if we want something that isn't a gamble, and I know we're in Vegas, we need to steer a little, right? We need to make it cheap and easy for the human to spot the places where the model isn't doing what we want and to like nudge it back on course. And that ambiguity feeds into another key challenge, which is predictability, right? The models are inherently non-deterministic. Every time we ask the model for something, even if we make the same prompt over and over again, we're pulling a handle on a slot machine. We're going to get back something different every time. And these slot machines behave worse. The odds are worse when we ask them for ambiguous things. And so, and that's exactly what we're trying to reach for, right? Natural instructions with complex responses. So yeah, the models are getting better and our odds are improving, but to date, we're only playing this low-stakes slot machine of generating these small completions. So effectively, there's a ceiling on suggestion size. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to break through that ceiling. And if we want to steer, there isn't really a great moment to do it because the request-response cycle of talking with these models is atomic. You can't get into the middle of it. So tactically, there's only two real levers to pull. Either you try and craft a better prompt before you send it, or you can chain a few round trips together and do something smart in between those round trips. For the last few years, almost all the attention has been on this first lever of prompt crafting. What do we say to the models to get them to not just give back something useful, but to do it reliably over and over again? That's what gets us out of toy territory and into tool territory. I don't believe that we're going to break the suggestion ceiling only using that first lever. jumping straight from task to code was a viable strategy for generating a little bit of code. For larger scales, we have to start thinking in terms of multiple round trips. We have to offer some moments to steer. So in the past year, we've been reaching for a process that gives developers this predictable, approachable steering wheel. We've prototyped it. It's called Copilot Workspace. It's currently in technical preview. It's not a product. It's not shipped. And we're studying how our early testers use it and refine it. I think it's the first post-chat AI experience, and we're going to see a lot more of this as time goes on. The process starts with a task, right? Something you want to get done. And the first step is using AI to turn that task into a spec, a plain English bullet point list that describes how things work today and how it should work differently after the task is done. And that's the first moment the human can steer, either to fix the model's understanding of what exists now or to edit the model's understanding of what we want to happen. And once the human says that the spec is good, the Copilot Workspace generates a plan. And that plan is another